Hello again, everybody. Welcome to Michael's Record Collection, where we talk about great music with the people who make it and the people who love it. And for this episode, I am joined by Rob Reed from, you know him from Magenta, but maybe you don't know him from Cyan, but you should. Rob, thank you for your time.
Great to be here. Pleasure.
Your new album coming out, Pictures from the Other Side, November 17th release date for this.
Yeah.
And you just came out, what about 2 years ago, I guess, for King and Country came out.
Yeah.
And these are kind of I wouldn't necessarily call them straight reissues, but they're
No, no.
re-recordings, and you've done quite a bit of bulking up to these releases, and I can't wait to jump into them. But I wanted to start out by asking what I always ask my guests, and that was, what was your first favorite record?
Oh, God, back in the day. Um, God, I tell you what, a record I loved, which got me into music, which had a real strange prog connection, which I didn't realize at the time, was that I loved Life on Mars by David Bowie. And as a young kid, I loved the piano playing on it. And I had no idea it was Rick Wakeman playing the piano. I just loved the track. And that really got me into music. And then Tubular Bells was my biggest, that was my moment of like, ta-da, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. you know.
Yeah. Oh, I got to tell you, Life on Mars is my favorite Bowie song. So good
Oh,
choice.
incredible.
Yeah, for sure.
Incredible.
I want you to tell me a little bit about your background, because you obviously are a very accomplished keyboard and piano player. When did you
Yeah.
start taking lessons or become interested in playing instruments?
God, say it was after hearing Life on Mars, I wanted to be a piano player. So I started piano lessons at like 7 years of age. And I hated practicing. I got bored. I used to, I do all my scales and stuff, and then I would sort of make up little tunes. So I learned the sort of basics of it and did a load of exams. But I just got drawn. I think you reach a point when you're a piano player, you're either going to become like a concert pianist, which means loads of practicing, or you get into rock and roll and you think, right, I'm just going to I'm going to play whatever I want. And that was what I went.
Mhm.
I heard Genesis and Yes and all that stuff. And I was like, I want a bit of that. That's what I want to play. I want to play like Rick Wakeman. And I just got into bands and stuff and into recording and things. And as I said, Tubular Bells was when I heard that album, I was really young, and it just sort of blew my mind that one person could play all these instruments and make this music. And I just became obsessed with learning to play all these instruments. And I had two old cassette recorders, and I would multi-track on them. I just play one, put a little mic in front of it, play a second instrument, and it would sound horrendous, but I would get tape on, and then more equipment, guitars, and getting older and then being in bands. And it's a slippery slope then, isn't it? And then I'm just into just doing music all the time, really.
Now you mentioned other instruments. How many other instruments do you play?
God, I can play. I can get away with lots of instruments. How many I can actually play properly? But I piano is my. I love playing proper piano. These synthesizers. There's no feel in them. I think keyboard players in bands have a rough deal because you basically you can't put any expression into it. You just got to press the note and it just triggers a sound. So I love any chance I can to play a real piano. That's what I'm at, because you can actually put dynamics into it,
Hmm.
and I love all that. Or a Hammond organ where you can play a bit more rock and roll, but I just love the challenge of playing all these instruments, and I love playing bass. That's my second love, and I'm a huge fan of Chris Squire. So all my Magenta records and Cyan, they've all got crazy bass lines on them because I love bass being up front and driving the track, really.
Yeah. So this is a picture from the other side. It's a 6-song CD. You also have a special edition with a DVD with 5.1 surround mix, which I
Yeah,
love. I'm a big fan of the 5.1 surround,
yeah,
and it's also got a live acoustic performance. of songs from the first album for
Yep.
King and Country. Tell me a little bit about Cyan's band's history, because this is sort of an on again, off again band. It's been over the
Yeah,
years.
it's a weird, it's a strange story, but it takes me right back to being in school when I was in the sort of sixth form of school and just about to leave school. And a couple of us had a band. We had a band, a little bit of talent, and a huge dream of being Genesis and Yes, but we were in school and we put this band together and we cobbled together a few bob, some money, and we went into a local studio, made this real rough demo. But it was mind blowing for us to go in and play as a band and hear it back with the monitors. And we made this demo, and everyone left school. I sent it off to a few people, and I sent it to Nick Barrett from Pendragon. And he loved it, and he wrote me back a letter saying, "This is great, this is great." So he sent it on to a label in Holland, and I said, "Yeah, we like it. We wanted to make a record." And he was like, "Well, everyone's left now. The band has left and gone to various places. I was left on my own."
Mm-hmm.
So with the Mike Oldfield influence, I thought, right, I'll make the record myself. I'll sing on it. I'll play bass and guitar, and I had a drum machine. And I made this first record, which was for King and Country. And we put it out. I did really well. And he was like, "Oh, well, we want another one." So I did, right, okay, pictures from the other side. We put that one out. And I did well. And we did another, I did 3 altogether. By the time of the third one, I was doing a pop career, doing pop music with Christina from Magenta. And all that fell apart. And I said to her, "Look, let's do a prog band. Me and you, we'll have a female fronted prog band." And we started Magenta. So that just exploded. And I ended up putting Cyan to one side, really. I parked it, all those years ago. And then I had 20 years of Magenta. But always in the back of my head, I thought there were some great tunes on back in the day I wrote in school. I had a real innocence about the way I wrote, which I've lost now because I'm like too much thinking about what's reviewers going to say, what are the fans going to say, what the rec company's going to say, blah, blah, blah. Back in the day, I was making music for myself in school. It was like, I just wrote it. So it was great to go back and re-record it with all this technology I've got, all the instruments, and then I put a killer band together because I was sort of thinking, oh, do I do it? Do I do it? Do I re-record it? But once I heard Pete Jones singing it, that was the moment I thought, yeah, this is gonna be spectacular. With him singing. Because for me, it's all about the vocalist, and I've been really lucky to have Christina in Magenta, who's one of the best female singers.
Yeah, sure.
And now Pete to me, is one of the best male singers, and it just makes the music. It just transforms it.
Yeah, you've definitely had some good fortune in finding phenomenal singers for your work. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You mentioned Magenta, of course. That's how I came across you with this album, which is it's over 20 years old. Can you believe that?
Oh my God. Well, as I said, I made that record after coming out of a pop career, and we were like, it nearly killed me and Christina doing it. It was so harsh and brutal. I mean, I said, no more. I'm gonna make a prog album. And at the time of making that record, prog was such a dirty word. Nobody wanted to be prog. No one. All the bands now who say we are prog, they were like disowning it. Oh, we're a rock band. We ain't a prog band. Mm-hmm. So when I made that record, I thought, right, I'm going to make the most proggest album I can. It's going to have 25-minute tracks on it. It's going to be a concept. It's going to be a double album. It's going to be loads of solos on it. It's going to sound like Genesis, Yes, Pink Floyd. And we put it out and everyone loved it. It was like, because everybody was scared to make a record like that in those days, especially with a female singer. So, so that's when when that record kicked off. That's when I had to park Cyan, really. So, which I can't complain.
Yeah, it was, to me, it was like a renaissance, the band Renaissance for the 21st century. It just it was Revolutions was a revelation.
Well, that's it, and Renaissance was my template, because I love Renaissance and I love Annie Haslam's voice. And bizarrely, like Christina, she got no grasp of prog rock. She knows nothing about prog. She's a punk. She comes from the punk era. So when she came in to sing these tracks, and I was saying, "Oh, they're going to be 25 minutes long." It's like, what? And it's going to be about wizards and all this. And she's like, what? But she sang it, and then when I heard it, I thought, my God, she sounds like Annie Haslam.
Mm-hmm.
And I've met Annie since, and it's so bizarre that that she sounded like that. It wasn't intentional. I didn't know it until she actually sang with all that sort of prog backing, and it came out. And I thought, my God, it sounds like Annie, which is really strange, but great as well because I love Annie Haslam's vocal.
Yeah, and you guys got to record with Annie. You got to have both of them on the same record.
We did a record, and we met. We did what did we do? It was not Near Fest.
You did Night and Day.
That's it. Yeah, we did that, and that which is incredible. Again, to have her vocals to play with, and we met up with her when we did. It wasn't Near Fest. What was the other one? It was Rosfest. We did Rosfest festival, and she was there, and she was very kind and very complimentary, and yeah, that was lovely, and it's great to work with your heroes, which I've been lucky enough to work with a few. So it's and they've all been lovely. So this is good.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to catch you at Rosfest, and that was a big treat. So it was good to get to see you guys because obviously on this side of the pond we don't get to see you guys very often. And no. I definitely, before I leave Magenta, I want to mention Seven because this one's coming up on a big anniversary next year, and I definitely want to have you back on to talk about this album.
Oh, that's our big album, really. When that came out, that was it. That sort of cemented, and it's got some of the best songs on it. People love that record, and we still play it live now. So, yeah.
So Cyan and Magenta, do you have a background in art or painting? Is that what where the names come from?
Well, it's so bizarre. Well, Cyan came first, and then when we were looking to name Magenta, I thought, well, it's got to be the color. And we looked at the color. I thought, yeah, it'd be great. Let's do that, But yeah, it's a strange one. But there'll be no more colors. That's enough.
No more colors. So this are the two bands now concurrent? Are Cyan and Magenta existing at the same time now?
They are, and they're completely different lineups. Even live now, they've been separated, which I like. And they're different. They're different. It's a different sound. And with a different guitarist, it's completely different in both bands, and I love being able to do them. For me, if I just had one band and I did that all the time, I'd get so bored, and I think I'd end up repeating myself and getting lost. I like at the moment that I can do a Cyan album, then a Magenta record, and then a solo album, and then something else, and then I'm really hungry to go back and do another Cyan album. And if I just did that all the time, I get really bored. I like to go to different places, recharge my musical sort of battery, and then go back enthused. So next up is a new Magenta records, which I'm really excited about doing. So because I've done Magenta for the last, Cyan for the last 8 or 9 months, and I'm worn out now. I'm like. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, sorry, my phone is going. Stop this up. Yeah, so it's been I like the fact that I can mix it up a bit, really.
Yeah, variety's great. Let's talk about this band that you put together for Cyan because you had obviously some folks who helped out in the past, and now you've got this new band. You mentioned Peter Jones on vocals, who does an outstanding job on this record.
Yep.
You got Dan Nelson on bass. Luke, is it pronounced Machin?
I think so. Yeah, Machin. Yeah.
On guitar. But who else contributed on this album? I'm sorry, I don't have the liner notes, so I don't have all of the details.
Well, say I play all the keyboards and a bit of acoustic guitar, and then Luke was a fantastic guitarist. He's done a lot of stuff. He plays with the Tangent, a band called Canatica. He's done stuff with It Bites. And he can play fast and all that and furious, which I like, but he also writes melodic guitar lines, which I really like, and he's a lovely guy. So he's come in to do that, and then Pete obviously is playing saxophone and singing. Then I got a girl singer called Angharad, which is a Welsh name, and she's got a lovely voice. It's completely different to Tina's. It's very angelic, ethereal, which I love, and it complements Pete's vocal. And then I say Dan Nelson plays bass, and he plays in Magenta. And then there's a drummer called Tim Robinson who actually played on Revolutions and Seven. He plays the drums on those records. I think that's it. And we got Troy Donockley who plays with Nightwish and everyone else. He plays
he's been with Iona.
Iona, yeah. And Troy's a really good friend and a lovely person. So
I was going to ask you on Broken Man, I was going to ask you, are those Julian pipes at the beginning? And it sounds like Troy.
It's got to be Troy because he's the go-to, and I've used him on so many records, and he's a lovely, lovely, lovely man. He's such a top person, and I just any excuse to get him on a record because I love the sound of those pipes. They really get to me,
Yeah, they're what I wrote down is that for me this gives the start of the song and the album, as it's the opening track, a big cinematic feel, which is just a fantastic way to kick off the record.
Yeah, I think that's the record. It's a big record, and I love the mixing side, and I love the recording, and I love it to sound lush and correct and cinematic and broad, and I love all the colors on it, all the little bits of detail. And that's my favorite part is making the record. Playing live is okay, but I love the studio work where I can really go to town on the production and get it to work, But the songs are still there, it doesn't get suffocated by the production or the playing.
Mm-hmm.
Still plenty of room on it, and So
now, did you do all the production and mixing, or did someone help you with this?
No, I love all. I do it all myself, really. Mm-hmm. I love being locked in the studio and creating these albums. I'm a huge Trevor Horn fan, who's a big producer. Done the 90125 and things, and his sort of he would do these meticulous productions, which I love, and I love all that kind of stuff, and I love really getting buried in the soundscapes and stuff. But no. It takes forever and it drives me mad, but I love doing it.
So when were the songs for this album originally written?
Back in the 90s, as I said, the first album for King and Country, that was written as a band when I was in school. But as I said, everybody left. So I was left to carry the can and make the record on my own. So when it came to a second album, I had to write all the tunes on my own. And it didn't have the input of the other guys, but it was fine, and I still loved it. And this is back in the sort of mid 90s, really. But the songs have undergone such massive transformations. It's not just a re-recording or a reworking. It's like let's take out the middle section, like the opening track, Broken Man. That's got a complete new 5-minute middle section with lyrics and singing, and it makes the track. The middle section of that song is the best. It's the best part of the album for me, and it's a new part, but it makes it makes the song work better. So I like going back to them and thinking, right, there was mistakes in the arrangement, or this is a bit of a boring part. Let's write a better part. And some songs, I think the last but one track, Tomorrow's Here Today, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm.
That has been completely stripped back. Only the vocals survived. I wrote completely new chords for the whole of the song compared to the original, really. So, it's a lot more than just a reworking or a re-recording. It's like a rewrite. It's like a new. I don't know how to describe it, really, but it's a big record. And what's happened is that the original album had 8 tracks on it,
right,
and it was about 60 minutes long. And by the time I'd finished rewriting and extending all this album, I had nearly 90 minutes worth of music. So I've taken 2 tracks off. So there's only 6 tracks on the album compared to 8. And the other 2 tracks will be available as a mini album in March. and one of those has gone from 11 minutes up to 25 minutes. It's an
Wow.
absolute monster. It's a monster of a track. So, and it would have been too much to put on this record. It would have pushed people over the edge. So that's going to come out in March.
Great. That's great. I was going to ask you because you left off the Guardians and all around the world, and I was wondering if that was just a
Yeah.
time issue, the time
No,
constraints of the CD and the album.
it was just too much.
Yeah.
It would have it's too much of an assault on the brain to have an extra 25-minute track. So I want people to listen to that fresh as a little mini album.
Yeah. One of the first things I noticed when I got the tracks for this was that the time of each of the tracks was different, and it was usually longer. It was
Yeah, I said, yeah,
Nosferatu, for example, grew to 17 minutes long. And Broken Man was longer, obviously, and yeah, so you've definitely bulked these up. When you hear these tracks now, is this closer to what you had in your head when you wrote them?
I don't think so. I don't think I at the time I didn't think, oh, these needed to be in a certain way. That was as I thought then. That's what I thought the tracks needed,
Mhm.
and I think now they had a great. I've got an amazing guitarist and an amazing singer and an amazing female vocal on there. It was a case of writing parts to use their talents as well. So I would think, oh, I want a big guitar solo there because I can. Whereas when I was doing it back in the day, I wasn't the best guitarist in the world, so my limitations meant I wouldn't have an extended guitar solo. I wouldn't have a section for singing or whatever. But now I can do whatever I want, knowing that it's going to sound amazing with these players. So I think that's why it's gone so long.
Yeah. Okay. Well, one of the tracks that is going to be on the EP is, or the mini album, whatever you want to call it, All Around the World. Of course, got to run out in this release, Prog Aid
Yeah,
for
yeah,
Tsunami Relief. This was an amazing accomplishment by you guys. I
yeah.
was very impressed at all of the names that have appeared on this. What was it like to put that together?
Oh, that was a mad one. We did that so quick to turn it around, and it was me and another guy, Matthew Cohen. He spent most of the time contacting all the artists.
Mhm. This would be from
And
The
then
Reasoning.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, Matt, he worked really hard and he brought all the artists in, and it was my job to put them all into one track. And it was incredible to have all these parts coming in. And on my mixing desk, I could bring up and I could have combinations of like Pendragon with IQ, with Arena, with Royna Stout or Flower Kings, or I could mix and match and make this and see what people would sound like when they played together. And the hard thing was putting everyone on, get everyone a moment. So it was like I had like complete vocal takes from Neil Morse, and it was like, well, I can only use 3 or 4 lines. Then it's got to
Mhm.
jump over to Alan Reed from Palast. Then it's got to go to Nick Barrett, and then it was IQ, and it was bonkers. It was incredible. But what's weird, if you look at the lineup on there, what is strange is the people that are not on there, who were around at the time. Like Steve Wilson was around
Mm.
and making music at that time, but he wasn't considered to be part of the gang, the
Yeah.
sort of scene. And the same with Big Train. They were around at the time, but they weren't considered to be. So for me, it's looking, it's amazing all the people are on there, but it's also the people that were around
Yeah.
but weren't sort of, their stars hadn't shone at the time, and so it's bizarre, but it was great experience to do. It was bonkers, but yeah, that's quite a while. That's going back quite a bit. That is, yeah.
Yeah. That's it probably made your job a little easier not having additional and musicians on it, but I like the definitive mix because you get all of those guitar solos in there. You're able to
Oh,
use everybody,
yeah,
and it's
yeah.
outstanding. Do you have any idea how much money was raised?
God, I can't remember. It was a lot. It was a lot. We did, because I say we had such a short window to do it and to get the money in and to the appeal. It was in the thousands. It was a lot. It was a lot, and but what we didn't have then, which we have now, is the internet. We didn't have that. It was all buy the physical CD. It wasn't like buy a download, and we couldn't reach everyone. It was like you had to tell people via magazines and newsletters. It was so slow. So I think if that was done now, it would be a much broader. You'd get a worldwide audience on it. So it was a strange time to do it. And it's completely changed now.
Yeah, I think I found out about it on a message board or something. And I was like, I have to have this. So
yeah,
I'm glad I picked it up, but not only for the great cause, but because the music is fantastic as well. So get back to Pictures from the Other Side. I know others were involved in some of the lyric writing. Where do your lyrical ideas usually start? Is it movies, literature, dreams, some combination of those?
To be honest, I'm not a fan of lyrics. I don't write lyrics, and I find them really tedious to do. So I always get my brother or Christina to write the lyric. I send them me singing any old rubbish, la 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 la, the melodies, and then they fit the words to fit my melodies, and then I get that back. I do a demo, give it to Christina, she learns it, or give it to Pete, and so it's a process I don't really enjoy, and I'm like I'm much more happy once the lyric is in, and then I can hear the track, and I can make the track fit the lyric. I'm always involved in the story of what the lyric will be about. And me, as I said, me and my brother are massive Hammer horror and Universal film fans of the 30s and 40s. So there's always some twist in the lyric. I think on this album, there's quite a few different lyric writers on there. I did a couple, but it's not something I enjoy. I enjoy coming up with the idea, but not the actual writing the words. It's like, I find it very tedious, that, but
do you start when you write the music for a song? Do you start on the piano or a synthesizer, or is it a combination of that, or does it sometimes start with a vocal melody?
No, it's normally on a piano. I got a piano here or a guitar. It's one of the two. I'll be playing on it, just messing around. I'll get some nice chords, something will hit, and then I'll record it on my phone. And my phone is jam packed full of hundreds and hundreds of musical ideas, and some of them you think, oh, they're rubbish. But then you go back to them and you go, oh, okay, I'll mark it down. I'll say, Magenta idea. Then it'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then normally I'll get a load of them together. And then I'll start making a sort of quick demo of, a real 2-minute demo. I'm throw a bit of drums, a bit of Hammond, organ on it, and see if anything sticks. And then I'll write a melody. And then it goes from there, really. But I'm not one of those people that can be walking on the hillside and hear a melody. It doesn't happen. That doesn't happen to me. So I'm not that clever.
Okay. Well, I think some people would say you're pretty clever, though.
Well, I get away with it.
When you do write, is there a difference when you write a song? Do you know this sounds like a Cyan song or this sounds like a Magenta song?
Yes, that's even at the early stage, I will know where it's going to go. And, I've got a load of folders on my desktop, which will be marked Cyan, Magenta, solo album stuff, instrumental stuff, rock stuff, or whatever. And I'll just put them in there. I can usually tell where it's going to go, where it's going to sit, really. And especially with Magenta, especially at the moment, because I've been doing Cyan a lot, the next Magenta record, which I'm working on, is definitely going to have a sound of its own. I think I want the two to be a separate sound. So, which is good, and it's helped me because I've done, God, how many albums I've done with Magenta? About 10, 11, and loads of live albums. And so each album is like, I've got to find something to write about musically. I got to know a sound or a direction. Otherwise, I can't just go I'll make an album for the sake of it. I've got to be inspired by a sound. So, and I've struggled over the last couple of Magenta records. And you're thinking, oh, where am I going to take it? Where am I going to go with it? But I've just got an idea in my head of where it should go. So I'm excited, and I've written a load of stuff. I've got an album's worth of material now for the next Magenta record, and it's definitely separating from the Cyan, which is a lot more bombastic and a bit more bigger, But it's just writing for the vocal. It is that's what defines them.
Mhm.
It's knowing what would suit Tina to sing and what would suit Pete to sing, and Harrod. It's a completely different style. And sometimes in the past, on some of the Magenta records, if I was honest, they'd be like, I would have almost forced Tina in onto a musical landscape that doesn't always suit her, and sometimes she struggled to go, well, what am I going? How do I sing it? And I'm like, in my head, I'm hearing Peter Gabriel, and she doesn't sound like Peter Gabriel. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, you got to go, right, you got to write for the singer. And a lot of prog bands, especially the heavier bands, you hear the singer is drowned because she can't compete with the music. You've got to write music that complements the singer. And that's where I think I finally realized what Magenta is, and I can go there, and Cyan can go there.
One of the interesting things about your career in Magenta and Magenta's music and album to album was that you were able to turn the page a little bit musically from album to album at times. So you went a little more maybe modern with New York Story and maybe a little bit more heavy with Metamorphosis.
Exactly. Yeah.
And these are just sounds that occurred to you at the time that were appealing to you at the time.
Well, it was. I get bored if I repeat the same thing. So as I said, I've got to find an angle for each album, and that's exactly what you described there. Was with Home, I wanted to write more in the sort of singer-songwriter Elton John kind of vibe, and it was all with an American theme, and we'd just come back from Rossfest, and I was so inspired by America and this, and I thought, I want to write there like Elton John and Carly Simon and Paul Simon. I wanted to have a real, still with prog overtones, but real songs on there, and that's what that album came out. And then we went and did, again, America's to blame for this, for Metamorphosis. We went and played Nearfest, where we sort of died a death because all the other bands on the bill were all playing like crazy technical prog, whereas Rossfest was more melodic.
Mm-hmm.
Nearfest, like Magma, Alan Holdsworth, and I was like, oh my God, well, we are playing these lovely tunes. I can't play all that mad, crazy stuff, and we sort of, didn't quite find out. And I came back from it and I thought, right, I'll show them. I'll write an album that's going to be really angular and we wrote Metamorphosis, and people love it, and it's a real hard album to play live because it's so complicated in parts. But then, it was nice to do something fresh, and then the next one would be a certain style, and each album is different.
Yeah. And yet you retain that essence of what the band is, so that you don't alienate your existing fan.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the job. And it's the vocal in the end, and that sits on it. And as long as that works, either way.
Yeah. So let's talk about these songs a little bit. You mentioned Broken Man. We talked about the intro with those pipes, fantastic, and then very amazing guitar work on this song, I think. Talk a little bit about the deconstruction and reconstruction of this in its new format.
Well, as I said, the original song just had a terrible middle section on it, and I come up with this song. It's like a standalone song in the middle. It's got like an A-B-A arrangement to it. So you go into this new part with a different time signature, and Harrod sings back and forth like a call and response with Pete, and it just transformed. Because when it, hold on, my phone, I'm being hounded. This tonight is we have a fireworks night in the UK where there's all fireworks. You have July the 4th, is it?
Yeah.
We have a thing called bonfire night, which means nothing to you whatsoever.
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all. And we have this night where we have fireworks and crazy fireworks. So my kids are phoning me saying, "Where are you? Where are you?" So I'm good for another quarter of an hour, but that's what's happening tonight. So I got to go and play that tonight. I got to do the fireworks. But yeah, the Broken Man thing was a middle section in there, which you just needed, and it was, and because when I was reworking them, when I originally did it, that was the weakest track out of them all, but now it's the best because of this middle section. Just works so much, and at each of the songs, I've undergone this rewrite, where I would write the new section or just something in the arrangement. But I knew that Pete could pull it off, and that was the ace I had in my pocket. So wherever I went vocally, he could do it, so that was great.
Yeah, no, this title track is second, and I think of the early Cyan music, I think that was probably my favorite track, but it's obviously it's been expanded, it's been enhanced in so many ways. It might be my favorite track on the album.
It's a great song. That's that when I wrote it originally, that was more inspired by, God, what was that inspired by? Like Simple Minds and things like that. It was more pop kind of thing. It had a verse, a chorus, and a great hook chorus that comes in. And it was also very much inspired by Camel, the middle section. Like they got like a Hammond solo on it, and very much like Pete Barden's from Camel and the Snow Goose. And when Pete, it was bizarre that Pete was plays in Camel, and when he heard it, he was like, "Oh my God, it reminds me of Snow Goose." And I was like, "Well, that's what I was listening to at the time." But now again, it's a lot more sparkly. The production's much better on it. And it's got a lovely. He plays sax on it, Pete, and it's fantastic. The dual sax and guitar solo is very nice.
Yeah, I like the chorus a lot, and I love the harmony vocal in that chorus. I think works really, really well together. And I'm not going to go through every track because people can go out and explore this on their own. But I did want to hit upon the epic centerpiece of this record that closes it out, Nosferatu, and this thing has grown to 17 minutes. Obviously things were added. Were things removed from the original?
It was, yeah. There was a section I had towards the end, which was like it sort of, the track dropped and went into this like Vivaldi string quartet for about 2.5 minutes. And when I came to it, I thought, why did I do that? At the time, I thought it was great, but it killed the track. It killed the flow of the track. So I took it out, and I can't remember what I put in. I just completely rewrote the way so that the whole track built and didn't disappoint to deliver on the end. And if you played the track, it's got a bonkers ending where it just goes so big on the end, and it's got a classical Carmela Burana, which is like a classical piece, which is used in The Omen, in the horror film The Omen. All these voices go in, and it's over the top, but it's like, why not? I think the album needed it at the end. It needed to go, there you are.
Yeah, it's very theatrical. It's an extremely theatrical song. It's like, it is like theater / opera, and this great narrative running throughout the record with the protagonist, or the point of view of the Nosferatu, talking about not really being sure if he wants to turn his love all the way into a vampire. It's great story.
It is, yeah. But my brother's a lyric on that, and it's a great track, and it is prog. It's over the top. It's everything. But that's what prog's about. You lose yourself in it. It's a story. It takes you on a musical journey, and I think it really works. And again, with Pete singing it, because on the original one, the biggest thing I did on this version, I slowed it down, because on the original, it was going a million miles an hour, and the words were like da 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 da. I remember the guy trying to sing it originally, and he was like, I can't sing all the words, so I slowed it right down, and now you can hear the lyric. And Pete was like, "Whoa, thank God you slowed it down," and it's a lot more. It's got a much more gravitas now.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that 100%. So, do you have a favorite track on this record?
Whoa, oh God, I don't know. It's like I think the Broken Man is for me, just because I love the middle part. I love the completeness. There's not an ounce of fat on it. It's just every hook is lovely. All the performances are great. I think I think that's my favorite, and it's great to play live as well. So.
Yeah, you mentioned live, and I wanted to bring that up. You are now a live band. You're performing. You
Yeah.
were at Prog End, is that correct?
We did the what did we do? We done two festivals in the UK, Summer's End and
Somerset.
Fusion, and we did the God, what's it called? The one Night of the Progs in Germany, which is the big open air one in Germany. We did that with Nick Mason and his Saucer Full of Secrets. They were playing
Mm.
on the same bill, so we did that. That was a lovely, amazing show to play. And the band, they're all such great players that we stormed it. Really, it was lovely. It was great to play.
Do you have more shows lined up for this?
Yeah, we planning shows now for next year. So we're in the middle of getting the dates together, getting people's diaries together. And we'd love to come over to the States. We'd love to come and bring the band over because it's such a great band. It's lovely, but it's such a nightmare getting over with visas
Yeah.
and all the Brexit stuff that we've had over here, all the crazy nuts with all the self-inflicted wounds that we've done over here with the madness of our governments at the moment. So it's quite hard to play anywhere.
Yeah, you can blame our government for not being able to come over here very often, and then
Oh,
your government for the going to the continent.
honest to God, it's just crazy. There you are. But
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll sort something out.
Well, because I ask because selfishly, I would love to see a live DVD of a Cyan performance, obviously, and I'm sure you would too.
That's coming. That's next. When we do these dates next year, one of them we'll film one of them. And now we've got 2 albums worth of material to play. We'll do a big show and get everyone to come and play it, and we put it out on Blu-ray. Yeah, that's definitely for next year on my to-dos.
All right. Well, when we're here talking about this record, which means it was put to bed a while ago, you mentioned a new Magenta album coming and this new mini EP coming. When can we expect those, do you think?
I think the mini album will be March, April. It depends on when we do the shows. And then the Magenta album, I think that's going to be late summer. I think, I haven't started recording. I've written it all and I'm really excited by it, but we haven't got the lyrics. And, but yeah, it's going to be next year. And again, we'll do some shows and film them, do a one-off show with the Magenta. So yeah.
And is there a new Robert Reed solo album also in the works?
That's what I'm working on as we speak today. I've been working on that. That's come in as well. So I just like to break it all up and cleanse the musical palette really by doing something completely different. So yeah.
Now, in the meantime, are you also producing other artists?
I haven't got time. I haven't got time to do it. I don't. It takes a lot of work. I've been asked to do stuff, but I haven't got the time, and it's so mentally exhausting to do that. It's bad enough dealing with my own bands, leave alone someone else's problems. So no.
All right, Robert. When somebody listens to Cyan Pictures from the Other Side, this new version all the way through, maybe they're in the dark. They got the music up loud. They got their eyes closed. They're thinking about it. What do you want them to take away from that experience?
Oh, I just hope they can connect with the melodic, the melodies, the emotion, and Pete's vocal, and and to escape into the sonics of the record and the emotion. That's what I want. That's what I did as a kid in the dark with the headphones on. So that's what I want. I've made this record for that. It's an experience for 60 minutes. You're in this cinematic landscape with these great performances, and that's what I want. Fingers crossed.
Well, the album is called Pictures from the Other Side, comes out November 17th. Is this a self-released album?
Yeah. It's on. I run my own label, so all my releases come out on my own label. We got a little team that does it. So yeah.
Okay. And hey, I've enjoyed learning about this record from you and talking to you about it. I hope that it does really well for you. I think it's fantastic, and we're looking forward to the next one.
Oh, well, hopefully next year. I think at the end of next year we'd have another Cyan album. So fingers crossed. But it's been great to play anyway, and thanks for taking the time to speak about it.